Hey everyone, it's me again coming on. I am going to be talking about a topic that is very important because if you guys don't know, I am a higher self channeler. What that means is that I have the capability and the gift that was endowed to tap into people's higher consciousness, and what takes place is either I get past traumas, I get confirmations, I get things that you've been pondering in your mind, in your inner self of selves, that shapes the person's understanding and thinking that there is something bigger and better out there for them, or that I help you connect to that higher consciousness, believe in the higher consciousness. So truly what I want to say is that all of us have a higher self or selves. Now, I don't want to convolute this whole conversation and this whole video, but I must say that every one of us can do this at any time. And the only difference between myself or others out there is that I had these gifts or these abilities from a very young age. And something took place for me that may not have taken place for many, was that I never lost my imagination and I never lost my belief. In the work that I do get a lot of cynics, and I do get a lot of people that are very weary or very cynical of what I do. And at the same time, I do understand that there are people that are open or believe they're open. But what I do want to say is that cynicism is one of the main things that leads to an entrapment of the spirit. Okay, all of us can tap into our higher consciousness. All of us are tapping into our higher consciousness. But what's taking place for some of us versus others is that we don't believe, or we don't feel like we're granted that type of confirmation for ourselves in our makeup. Because the thing is, it's fine to ask questions. We should be cynical and critical at times, especially with the world that we see presented towards us. But being critical and having to prove that everything exists, it doesn't speak forth to the belief in oneself. Now, the thing is that this is going to take a shift, okay? You have to understand that sometimes you're not proving to prove to others. You're proving things to prove it to yourself. Now, why you want to prove something to yourself is because, lo and behold, I must say this, you don't trust you. Now, a lot of you might be out there going, well, what does that mean? The thing is that a lot of us get these shakeups in our life, spiritual shakeups, and things that come to us, and we don't try to ever take a moment to actually assess or to really think that this is being shown to us individually for a reason and for a purpose. Now, the reason why I say this is because when I do readings for people, they're always baffled as to how I can do this. They're always baffled. And let's say for even the biggest and largest cynics that I've ever met have come back to me and said, you know what, there's something that I could never shake, was the fact that you knew things that no one else would know. I've had people say to me, oh, the minute you get my name, you're going to look me up online. Oh, the minute you get my name, you're going to Google me. But some of the things that I say are things that you think so deep inside of you that no one knows, not even your wife, not even your kids, not even your family. So the funny thing is that what people don't understand is that the higher self is you, okay? When I'm tapping into the higher consciousness, this is your consciousness. There's no one else involved, just you. Cynicism, or that type of entrapment of the spirit, only leads to disbelief. Why is belief so important? Now, for those of you out there that may understand what I'm saying, this might not be for you. But for those of you that are like, oh no, I don't believe in the supernatural, I don't believe in life after death. But there is something that we have to understand, is belief is so important. Why is belief so important? Well, we can look at something as simple as the word placebo. There are so many studies that are conducted around the world, and they use something called placebo. So these groups of people run a test, run a lab review, whatever the case may be, and there are constituents within these tests that are given what we call a placebo. Now, the people that believe that they got the proper medication, somehow, sometimes, in the placebo group is quite interesting, because a lot of them start to heal. Why? Why do they heal? Because they believe they were administered the drug that would save them. That's it. That's all. And what you will notice in a lot of tests, once these persons find out that there is a placebo in effect, they start to do a decline. Now, this is a very interesting topic because belief is everything. Belief in oneself. The person taking the placebo, all they did was tell themselves, I've got the cure. I'm taking the cure. I'm going to get healed. That's all it took. It wasn't that the actual drug was doing anything. It was that they had instilled in their mind that this was the cure. And therefore, it began to work. So when it comes to the higher consciousness, or when it comes to spirituality, or when it comes to understanding the other side, all of this comes into play. Belief is the key. Belief in oneself is the key, and it is possible for all of us. Sometimes you have to understand that society designs us this way, that cynicism is ingrained in us from a very young age. And it's basically, to limit our possible thinkings. But a lot of people will say, oh, but I come from a science background, or oh, my parents are very scientific, or oh, I believe in the sciences. But there was a point in time in the archaic points of our existence of history that understood that science was really just a different form of what we would call magic. Now, if I say that word magic, there's a lot of taboo surrounded to that, right? You think of witches, you think of magicians, you think of warlocks, you think of all the other things that could possibly be associated with magic. But if we go, let's say, even to ancient Egyptians, they believed that magic was tapping into the etheric realm of understanding some form of larger physics or some form of quantum physics that now, I would say today, they are now analyzing has some type of natural essence that they can't even put their fingers on. Scientists, that is. When you have to prove all that cannot be proven, it gets very hairy. It gets very difficult, because the thing is that when do you surpass this feeling of needing to prove it? And who are you proving it to? Is it that you're proving it to others, or are you proving it to yourself? This is the main crux. Now, from what I do, you must understand that a lot of people spend a lot of their time living in a world that was designed to keep you away from your spirituality. And from a young age, you must understand, most of us know, especially those of us that have children, that the child mind is full of imagination, full of possibilities. If you were to tell a child who's got a stick in their hand, hey, what are you doing? They're like, I'm commanding the wind. I'm the wizard of so-and-so. And that child believes it so strongly that when they're in that moment of time, they are commanding the wind. I am not saying that that's what they're doing, but this is something that is supplemented and taken away from us from a very young age. That when it comes to the higher consciousness, what I am designed to do, or at least my gift, is to be and work with others so that all of those that come to me will start to make these connections for themselves, okay? Because I become the conductor, or I become the medium that helps them prove these things to themselves. Gives them, or gives you, the opportunity to believe in you. That's all it is. Because somewhere along the line in your life, you were told to not believe. Believe in you and believe in the world around you. Like I said, this can start off with parents. This can start with teachers. This can start with other family members, friends, people that laughed or scoffed at your ideas. However, there's a whole group of us out there in this world that love things like sci-fi, that love things like magic, like Harry Potter, whatever the case may be. And the thing is that there's a yearning inside of our souls to be a part of this. We make this idea and separate ourselves from this idea of that it is possible simply because we call it and chalk it up to what we would call whimsy. But what you must understand is you are a conscious being. You are a being that thinks things, feels things on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of us get these nudges or these ear chimings or these palpitations. Our body can react to certain situations to warn us not to go down that alley, or not to go into that business meeting, or not to go into their home one day, or not to go a certain direction in our car. And we can't really point fingers. However, sometimes really nasty things result by not listening to those bodily functions, or not listening to those little inner chimings, or not listening to those little warning signals that we were given from our higher consciousness. And it is only through that nasty situation that may happen, let's say a couple times within someone's lifetime, that they start to say, you know what, whenever I get a gut feeling, I'm just going to go with it. It takes so much for us to prove to ourselves that we need to listen to our inner knowing. People may think the higher consciousness is outside of themselves, but really the higher consciousness is within oneself. Cynicism leads to the entrapment of the self or of the soul, simply because there's never going to be a point that you move from cynicism to belief. Because at least from my standpoint and where I and how I do my work, even if I show someone what I do and I give them certain, undeniable facts about themselves, they will still sit there and they will try to spend all of their time disproving what I do. And really what they're doing is disproving themselves. That's really all you are doing in this world. So what I would say to you, and this is something that I have to impart, because a lot of you are missing out on the most beautiful aspect of you, which is your own soul and spirit, your own higher consciousness that is here and designed to help guide you all through your path. Also very saddening is that a lot of you who have departed loved ones will notice at times you get these really interesting things that happen to you. Let's say birds show up, coins show up, music shows up that in your heart of hearts was designed to tell you something. For that moment in time, when you heard that song or when you saw that bird, you clued in and said, oh, that was Mikey. Oh, that was Sandra. Oh, that was my mom. Oh, that was my dad. And as soon as you believe that, you feel good. You feel at peace. Then what follows right after that feeling is, oh, you're crazy. Oh, that's not true. That's not happening. How could they be there? That's not right. The reason why the cynicism exists is because some part of you does not want you to be happy, does not want you to believe in the possibilities. Now, I'm going to pose this to you guys, and this is simple, okay? Why not? If whatever's taking place for you makes you feel good inside, what is the damage in believing that it is? What is the damage in believing that it exists? Or allowing your mind to go to those places. Now, a lot of you may not understand that the reason why you are designed this way is because in your life, you might have had many, many tumultuous situations where you didn't want to be taken for a ride, you didn't want to be bamboozled, you didn't want to be looking like the dumb one. And let's be honest with ourselves, those things shape us. They can even start as young as a small child. You could believe, let's say, for example, things like Santa Claus. Let's work with that. Your whole childhood life, you're being told a story, a fictitious story by adults that is really, really crippling. And what people don't realize is that this is the beginning of the end. These stories, what I will try to administer to you guys is stories like the Tooth Fairy, stories like the Easter Bunny, etc., are parts of this grand design to cynicize our souls. Because what happens is that because the story is a false story, as time goes on, the child realizes, oh my gosh, there is no Santa Claus. Oh my gosh, there is no Tooth Fairy. We come to realize that it's our own parents. And in that understanding at even a young age, that we were cultivating this belief in something that was outside of ourselves, something that was so lovely and beautiful, gets crushed. And in this crushing is what causes the first inklings, the first seedlings of cynicism. Because we realize like, oh, I got taken for a ride. Oh, I used to do all kinds of good things as a child and put out cookies so that Santa Claus would give me gifts. But really, it was just my parents all along. And we start to cultivate this cynicism from a very young age. Now, some of us can realize and separate ourselves from this, but this is the beginning stages of where cynicism comes, where we must identify everything as proof, where we must identify everything as fact. Now, I'm not saying that this is something that is incorrect, but what I am saying when it comes to the spiritual, when it comes to your particular life purpose, or when it comes to you attaching or knowing what your inner and most honest, grand, higher consciousness is trying to say to you or trying to encourage you to do, this cynicism is what blocks you from that communication. And it's people like myself that have to step in and say, hey, you're not on the wrong path. Hey, what you were thinking was correct. Hey, what did you think about this situation? Does this bring you more belief in yourself? So I want to pose this out to you guys because realistically, in order to tap into God, in order to tap into any of the deities, in order to know who your angels are, in order to know who the higher consciousness is to you, you have to break these small cynicisms that you have in your life. So for example, if you're someone who's got a passed on loved one that you feel is trying to reach out to you, and there's this cynical side of you that keeps telling you, no, it's not real. Just do me a favor, do me a solid, okay? For one, say to yourself, why not? Why couldn't it be? Because the thing is, it doesn't injure you to believe in it. All it does is make you feel better. All it does is make you feel happy. So in my practice, in what I do, I have to really make people understand that it's not me doing it. It's really you. I can only tap into someone's consciousness because that person gives me permission to do it. The fact that they even stepped in my door, the fact that they even gave me that call, is their higher consciousness using the avatar, meaning you, to actually make this connection happen because you're ready to do it at that time. For any of you that know me, for any of you that watch me, you know that I don't promote really. I don't go out there asking people to do my readings. Why? Because I am not that person. The higher selves that wish for their own avatar, meaning their 3D person, wanting to come on, needing that push, that nudge, they send them to me, not the other way around. So I am here to facilitate that for others, and I am here to help people connect to their higher consciousness. And what I will say is that after people do like 2-3 sessions with me over the course of time, of course, because they must do the work, what you will understand is that you are in control of that connection. All I do is facilitate it. And there's people like me that are here to make this happen because we have to get all of you on board. We have to get all of you connected because in this ascension time that we're all going through, it is imperative that people feel that interconnection to source, that interconnection to their salvation, that interconnection to their higher consciousness. So I'll leave you with this. If you are posed in your life with the idea that something is so false, ask yourself why you're so scared to let it be real. Because realistically, this is so personal and intrinsic to your growth. This is so personal and intrinsic to just you. No one needs to know that you believe in these things. No one needs to know that you want to believe in these things. And no one needs to know that you're on this way of thinking except for you. So why not? You've spent all these years not believing. Why don't you give yourself any leeway to believe? This is the thing I must point out to cynics, okay? You're safe in the doubt. You're safe in the non-believing. But if you truly wanted answers, you would allow the opening of the possibilities. You would allow the possibilities to flow into you. You would allow the potential for there to be another answer that you're not looking at. So I just wanted to say that, guys. Don't let cynicism be the thing that stops you from your spiritual awakening. Don't let cynicism be the thing that stops you from that and traps you in your spirit. And these are the ways that I wanted to point out this happens. Have a great day, guys. Love you lots.